All right, welcome back to another one of our film reviews. Today we are talking Houston Texans rookie offensive lineman Aireontae Ersery. Ersery in his preseason debut highlighted a lot of the reasons why the Texans are so high on him as a young offensive tackle. We'll break down everything he did so well and what it means for the future of the Texans. As always, in the comments section below, leave us any feedback or give us another player you want us to break down. But without further ado, let's jump right into the film. All right, we're going to open up the running play, and there's Ersery right there at left tackle for the Houston Texans. So this is going to be a design cutback by the Texans up front. What they're going to do is they're going to have the right guard work out. They're going to have the right tackle work out. They're going to get a double team between the center and the left guard right here, working up to the backside linebacker. We're going to get the tight end over here working out. We're going to get Ersery base blocking this 4-eye technique. We call him a 4-eye technique because he's right there on the inside eye of Ersery, the left tackle. If he was on the outside shoulder over here, we would call that a 5 technique. But Ersery is going to base him up. The fullback's going to insert right here just like this. Running back's going to take this track and then cut back just like that. So how this play ends up working out and why it's so critical for Ersery, he delivers the key block. He's got to make sure he gives up no penetration on this defensive lineman, and he's got to make sure that he ends up washed down this way so the running back can cut back behind him just like that. Ersery does a great job. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see the double team between the center and the left guard. You can see the right guard and right tackle working out. There's the fullback inserting. Play is really well designed. Look at Ersery right there. Good job, good base, getting movement. Right there, that's probably good enough. Look at that seam, folks. That's pretty darn good. But look at what Ersery does here at the very end. See how he chops his feet and runs it right there for a few more steps? That's what you want to see. You want to see continual drive, continual pounding the feet, increasing the size of the hole. It's one thing to just do a good enough job with the first 3 steps right there. That's good enough. That would probably get you, a good successful run right there. But it's that next level effort, right? Putting your feet in the ground, getting a little bit additional movement, getting this guy out of the way, that extra 2 steps. That's what I really like to see in young offensive linemen, right? Can you drive your feet? Can you finish the block? And Ersery does that right here. All right, from the wide copy, get a really good look at it right here. See how big this hole opens up? That's really nice. Let's look at Ersery again right here. You get a really nice look at it. Once he gets into this defensive lineman and does a good enough job right there. Right there, that's really good. That's good work. But see how he keeps moving his feet just a few more steps and keeps torquing him just a little bit more? I always feel like in the running game where you really can dominate these defensive linemen is at the very end of the play. People look for the shock with the first 2 steps and the initial punch and the initial movement, and that's all very important. But I like to see finish, like pushing this defensive lineman, not just where the hole opens up, but completely out of the play. It sets the tone, it sets an attitude. Nice rep from the rookie. All right, how about some pass protection? That's what you want to see from the young left tackle, of course, Ersery right there. So we're going to get a protection scheme right here for the Houston Texans where they're going to take the center, left guard, and left tackle, and they're all going to take the gap to their left. Center's going to work this way to that gap. Left guard's going to work this way to that gap. And left tackle, Ersery's going to work this way to his gap. You can see, though, how wide this defensive lineman is. We're going to call that a wide 9 technique. Again, a 5 would be the outside shoulder of Ersery because we got a tight end split out here. A 7 technique would probably be on the outside shoulder of the tight end. Because he's so wide, we call that a wide 9 technique. Basically means there's a lot of grass to cover right here, folks. It's a tough situation for any offensive tackle, let alone a rookie. Let's check out how Ersery does. All right, there's a snap. You can see the center, left guard, left tackle all taking the gap to the left. You're going to see on the backside here, right guard, right tackle, man on man. Let's look at Ersery here. Again, he's got a lot of space to work with. No chip help either, right? I don't know if that's by design or not. Number 9 working straight up the field. So my opinion, I will say on chip help, as a former offensive lineman, at least in the collegiate ranks, I never liked a lot of chip help from tight ends or running backs. It can throw off the timing. Some people think differently. That's just my 2 cents. But let's look at Ersery here. Good kick slide, good kick slide. Look, this is one of the things I like about him. See how he misses a little bit with his hands right there? He get knocked down, but he recovers and moves his feet and runs him around the hump, right? This is what I want to see from young offensive tackles when it's not perfect, right? A lot of times you can have a really good rep where the timing of your punch is great and you hit him right in the chest and you dominate, right? We all want to see that, and that's cool. But I want to see what happens when you don't win with the punch, when you go up against a good edge rusher who knocks your hands down. How do you recover? How do you move your feet? And Ersery does a textbook job here. Again, patient kick slide, doesn't overextend, keeps running around the horn, perfect protection. Compare this to what we see over here with Blake Fisher on the right? He misses his hands. You can kind of see that on the right side of your screen there. He misses his hands. He doesn't move his feet. Quarterback gets hit right there. That's what we saw a lot from C.J. Stroud last year, getting hit because offensive linemen are getting beat. Ersery right here, similar situation. You can see he misses with his hands, Fisher misses with his hands, but Ersery moves his feet, runs the defensive end around the horde. Great job. All right, from the wide copy, get a good look at it right here. See how he goes into his pass set and misses right there, but he keeps moving his feet and then shoves them, relocates his hands, pushes them way past the quarterback. It's never going to be perfect, guys. It's so hard to play offensive line, so hard to play anything in the National Football League. But against competent pass rushers, you're never going to just stonewall them easily like you did in college. Or if you do, they're guys, defensive ends, that aren't going to last long in the National Football League. But when the defensive end makes this move, here he knocks your hands down, it's how you recover, how good of an athlete are you, how good do you move your feet. Ersery checks every box. Nice play. All right, going back to the running game, you can see Ersery right there, of course, at left tackle. We're going to get a gap concept here from the Houston Texans. We're going to get the guard basing this defensive tackle. We're going to get the offensive tackle working out. We're going to get a double team between the left guard and center, working up to backside linebacker. We're going to get the tight end and Ersery right here, double team, working up to the play side linebacker. I believe it's actually, that's play side linebacker right then, tight end working out. And the running back's just going to take a track up the middle and trying to find a hole wherever he can. So this is a situation where the Minnesota Vikings defensive line, they slant this direction, just like this. So these double teams quickly become one-on-one blocks. And what they tell you, if you're double teaming or if you're base blocking in general, let's say you're Ersery right here, and your defensive end, he lines up outside of you in a 5 technique right here. If he slants across your face, you got to wash him down. You got to run your feet and jam him down inside to open up a cutback lane for your running back. That's exactly what Ersery does. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. We can see the double team attempts right there because you can see the Minnesota Vikings, they're slanting, right? Defensive end, defensive tackle, they're slanting. So this double team between the left guard and center quickly becomes a base block. Center washes him down. Guard gets up to the next level. That's a good job by those two. How about right here, 87 Ersery? How do we do? Defensive end, slant inside. Tight end gets up to the next level. Look at that hole. Nice job. There's a good read by the running back. Really nice run. Let's look at Ersery here. Again, washing his guy down inside, getting on him, running your feet, opening up the hole. Like I talked about earlier in the sequence, right there, that's probably good enough to give your running back a little bit of crease. But what about your next few steps? Keep running your feet, staying on him, and that's what he does, and it opens up that next level cutback. It's not just the first 2 steps in the initial shock. Everyone, when it comes to coaches and a lot of analysts, they look at those first 2 steps and say, okay, is that enough? And that's really important. I'm not denying it is. But what separates guys that are competent from good players is what happens next. It's running your feet. It's the finish. And that's what Ersery is providing in the run game. From the wide copy, get a good look at it right here. Watch this defensive end slant inside. Ersery keeps running his feet and opens up that next level cutback. Look at where this defensive end starts, right? Directly between the 2 hashes, and he's slanting, supposed to be in that gap right there, so a little bit to the left of this hash right here. Look where he ends up. About a yard and a half to the right of that hash. Completely washed down inside, opens up this big crease for the running back. Nice job by Ersery. All right, how about some more pass protection? There's Ersery right there at left tackle. So you can see by this alignment, the Houston Texans, they've got 2 tight ends over here. So they got a really wide edge defender right there on the far left side of your screen. You may not even be able to see him very well over there. But what's going to happen from a Texans perspective is they're going to take the center, and he's going to end up being one-on-one on this one technique, this defensive tackle. They're going to actually fan this protection. So they're going to have the left guard work all the way out to this 5 technique, and they're going to have Ersery work all the way out to this edge rusher coming off way outside these 2 tight ends here. Now, Ersery has kind of a 2-part responsibility. He's fanning out here looking for this edge rusher, but if this 5 technique right here comes and becomes the edge rusher in his own right, he's got to pick him up. So he's got to slow play this. He's got to be very patient. He's got to get into his kick set. He's got to see if this defensive end comes. If he doesn't come at him, if he kind of stays in this path right here, he's going to keep an eye out for this edge rusher. Ersery does a perfect job following his assignment, executing at a high level while being patient. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see the fan protection. Watch how Ersery plays this 5 technique. He's looking at him, patient. He sees the left guard come to him. Perfectly executed fan protection right here across the board. They pick him up. Good pocket for the quarterback. Again, Blake Fisher having some problems. The left side of the offensive line, folks, not so much. Patient. Pick up the edge rusher. Quarterback's able to deliver the football down the field. This is what you want, guys. This is what you've been looking for, Texans fans, right? Who's going to replace Laramie Tunsil? What's our offensive line going to look like? I tell you what, you've got guys like Ersery stepping up. Could make this offensive line a lot better. Now, you still have issues over here, right? Blake Fisher, look, I don't know if he's going to be a starter or not. That's up for debate. I would probably assume not because he had some issues, but I think he's a quality backup. I don't want to hate on Blake Fisher too much, but he does have some issues in pass protection. Houston Texans fans are very well aware of what that looks like when you have issues at pass pro in terms of the offensive line. But again, Ersery here, patience. I love that. Big, strong, athletic tackle. Use your size to your advantage. A lot of people think that means you got to be aggressive. Not necessarily. Be patient. You're bigger and stronger than this guy. He runs into you. Right there, he's done. It doesn't matter what he does next. Ball's gone. Great protection up front when it comes to the left side of the offensive line. Fanning this out. I mean, this is textbook stuff. No oversetting. Let the defensive lineman come to you. Then pass that perfect quarterback, a perfect pocket, I should say, for the quarterback. Good job by Ersery. From the wide copy, you get a really good look at how patient he is. Look at this. Look at this. No contact, no contact. Bang, takes him on. And here's the beautiful part, right? He sees this defensive end right here. Defensive end is actually trying to engage Ersery to kind of pick him a little bit so this edge rusher here can come through clean. Ersery doesn't take any of the cheese. He knows he's fanning out. He says, listen, you're not replacing this edge rusher. This guy's coming. He didn't drop into coverage. That's for my left guard to pick up. Left guard gets there. Ersery picks up the defensive end. Oh, man, he was open. Got to hit that. Look at this, guys. Oh, man, that's as open as you're going to get in National Football League. Missed ball right there. That's tough. But I tell you what, you look at the left tackle, left guard. This is how you handle it, folks. This is really good pass protection by this part of the Texans line. All right, going back to the running game, there's Ersery right there at left tackle, of course. This play is an example of something Ersery needs to work on. So it's a very similar concept to what we've seen a bunch of times with the Texans so far. We're going to get the tight end working out. We're going to get a double team between the center and the left guard right here, working up to the backside linebacker. Right guard's working back. Right tackle's working back as well. Fullback leading in the hole just like this to pick up the play side linebacker. Ersery one-on-one base block on this 4-eye. Now this is, let me clean up the screen for you guys. This is a really tough block, right? This is a tough combination right here because you've got to do basically three things. Number one, you can't let this guy slant inside to blow up the play. Number two, you can't let him slant outside to blow up the play. And number three, you can't give up any penetration. He can't go through you. So basically, you have to be really strong right here without oversetting and try and get some movement and hold your ground here and allow the running back an opportunity to run outside of you. Ersery does a halfway decent job here. This isn't a terrible play. This is just something he can improve on a little bit. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. We can see the double team to the backside. Right here, you can see the left guard falling down right here. That's not great because that linebacker becomes untouched over the top. Otherwise, it could have been a bigger play. Tight end working out. Right guard, right tackle working out. Pretty good design right here. Pretty good box to run this in. Fullback thuds it up in there pretty good. Good physical team the Texans were, at least this group in the preseason. That's what I like to see. Let's look at Ersery right here at the point of attack. Squares him up. Good job. Gets some good movement. No penetration, right? Defensive lineman doesn't blow up the play either to the left or to the right. Right there, this is really good, but he just loses it. And that's one of the things I think we see a little bit of Ersery in the running game, right? He just has a habit every once in a while of losing defensive linemen at the point of attack. This was a little bit of a concern coming out of college as well. I think this is something he'll improve within time because he's really good at finishing. He's trying to run his feet. That's what I like about it. He almost gets so much movement and trying to run his feet that allows the defensive lineman to kind of slide off of him a little bit. Doesn't do any dumb holding penalty or anything there. So he doesn't create anything catastrophic. And again, gets a really good movement, dents the defense. If this is the worst of Aireontae Ersery, folks, you're doing very, very well, Houston Texans fans. But I think just going forward, just sticking to the block a little bit longer. I think what happens is he's trying to run his feet and get movement that his hands and feet don't really stay together. He doesn't have a good grip on the defensive lineman. I think this is something where going forward with more reps, whether it's in preseason or training camp, he'll get better at holding the blocks. And look, even in the end there, he's still kind of trying to stay on him, still trying to make sure he doesn't get on the pile, part of the tackle. Still not a bad job from Ersery here. All right, from the wide copy, you get a really nice look at this. Look at this dent he delivers to defense right there. Shocks, drives him back. Look at that movement. That's not bad. I think he just gets a little bit overextended right there. But again, I think the overextension comes from a good place because he's trying to run his feet and finish. You can correct technique. You can improve, hand-foot placement, body lean, all that kind of stuff. You can't correct willingness, attitude, and drive. And Ersery has that. He wants to finish people. He wants to run his feet. He wants to play at a high level. And I think that's why the Texans are so high on him. All right, this next play is one of the more interesting plays I saw from Ersery, and there he is right there, of course, at left tackle. So it's going to be a very quick game, like a three-step drop, balls out kind of stuff. So what ends up happening is that Ersery is actually going to flash out to this defensive lineman and cut block him. Now, normally when you see cut blocks in today's NFL, you get a quick throw, like a one-step and throw to the outside, just trying to get this guy's hands down immediately because you got like a screen or something out quick over here, like a bubble screen or something. This is a three-step old-school drop, right? You don't see this a lot in today's NFL. Quarterback under center, three-step drop, ball gone. That feels like very 2003, but guess what? The Texans did it. It was pretty successful. We'll see what they do with this kind of stuff during the regular season. But again, let's watch Ersery here. Kind of a different approach, still gets the job done. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap, quick three-step drop, ball's gone. Successful play, right? Okay, let's look at Ersery right here. So you see him kick step out there. All the offensive linemen are basically one-on-one in normal pass protection, right? Kind of simple stuff. Ersery right here in space decides to go with a cut block and takes his knee, gets the guy on the ground, or at least get 4 points on the ground. What we always talk about with cut blocks is if you get 4 points on the ground, you get feet and two hands, that's a win. So right here, the defensive lineman kind of gets one hand and 1 foot, but for all intents and purposes, right, his hands are down. He's not batting any ball down. The play's done. I don't know why Ersery cut here. I'm assuming it was because he was coached to. It was something to work on. I don't know if they're going to do this during the regular season. I don't know if this was a mental mistake. I have no idea what the design or the play call was here from a protection perspective. It feels like man-on-man protection right here, but you also see a little bit of a slide between the center and left guard taking their gap, and they pick everybody up. They do a good job. It's just kind of a unique protection concept. But again, Ersery, I don't know why he cut there, but it was effective enough to get the defender's hands down. We'll see if he does more of this during the preseason and the regular season. Now from the wide copy, you can see it right here. Watch him just do a quick set out and then right there and cut. And it works, right? Hands are down. If he was throwing this little quick hitch out here to the bottom of your screen, this defender, the ball's already gone and the ball would have been gone here. No chance to bat it down. Again, I'm not a huge fan of cut blocking in this kind of situation, but again, it worked. It got the job done. Ball's out. Successful play. So you take it. All right, let's end on one of my favorite plays from Aireontae Ersery. There he is at left tackle. It was far from his prettiest, but it showcased his intelligence and his effort, and that's what I like to see from a lot of these young rookies. So this is going to be another downhill concept for the Houston Texans. We're going to get a double team from the left guard and the center, working up to that linebacker. We're going to get a double team right here between the right guard and the tackle, working up to that linebacker. Ersery working out just like this. Running back's going to take a downhill path and just find a hole to cut back into like we've seen this entire sequence. Once again, the Minnesota Vikings, even though it's a preseason game, they slant their guys, right? They're moving guys a lot, even though it's the preseason. So what ends up happening is this defensive lineman right here, he slants this direction. The center picks him up. This guard then works up to this linebacker. As this defensive end slants here, he actually beats Ersery across his face and gets some penetration. But Ersery fights with it, stays with him, pins him inside, gives the running back a chance for a successful play. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see the slants from the Minnesota Vikings defensive line. You can see this defensive end actually beats Ersery across his face right there. Not good situation, but Ersery doesn't give up, right? Keeps running his feet, get that extra little shove right there, and that's it. Running back's out the gate for a successful play. Let's look at the rest of these guys, right? Defensive lineman slants away, slender picks him up, linebacker up to the next level. Hey, he doesn't stay on him very long, but it gives the running back a chance. Not a bad running play. Again, offensive line was not perfect for the Houston Texans, but Aireontae Ersery and really the left side, these guys right here, they had a pretty solid day. And again, I love the effort and I love the intelligence. So he gets beat right here. Keep running your feet. Don't give up. Don't do anything stupid. Don't grab a face mask. Don't hold. Don't do anything like that. You get a little holding right there from the tight end. This is an example of a dumb play. Tight end gets beat. He kind of grabs there. He gets away with it. That should have been called. Let's look at Ersery. He doesn't grab. He just keeps running his feet. If you run your feet and move and fight to the whistle, you will be successful a lot of times on the offensive line. You'll make your running back right. The running back a lot of times will prove you correct, and Ersery does it here. Again, is it absolutely perfect? No, like he gets beat inside, right? This is a minus. If PFF or any of these other analytical sites graded this play, they'd say not a good play from Aireontae Ersery. But even when it's not a good play, it's still a winning play because he fights through it, showcases effort, avoids any dumb penalties, and he opens up the hole for his running back. Again, the running back number 33 proves him right. Extra little shove right there. Sometimes that's all it takes in terms of an offensive lineman. These defensive linemen, these linebackers, and these defensive coordinators, they'll throw funky stuff at you all the time. A lot of times it's doing just enough. It's staying with it, moving your feet, and letting your skill players make plays. Houston Texans did not do a lot of that last year. Ersery will help give them that this season. Let's take a look at it from the wide copy right here. Watch his defensive end beat him across his face. This looks like a tackle for loss, but Ersery stays with it. One more shove. Running back proves him right. Again, it's that next level effort, next level intelligence. We know he's good in pass protection. I highlighted it this entire sequence. He can get movement in the running game. He runs his feet well. He wants to finish. He's a smart player. It's very early, but he looks like the whole package at offensive tackle.